Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I have my fantastic co-host.
What up, beautiful people? Eddie Nicholas here with you on 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. We're so glad that you decided to join us today. What's going on in the world of music and news, Adam?
Well, first, we want to let our viewers and our listeners know that the Freedom Radio Hour is here, not only giving you fantastic music tonight, but we're also giving you that music business news and trends from around the globe. I have so much to talk about tonight. You know how we talked about years ago how there was this attempt to deal with piracy, physical piracy on CDs, right? And what would happen is a company, Microsoft, the software company, they figured out how to deal with the billions of dollars in losses due to piracy by coming after these physical outfits. And what they uncovered, if you remember, we were talking about drug cartels, organized crime outfits that were behind all of these bootleg material. But when they uncovered the software, they also uncovered music, right? So out of that sprung some companies that took this as an opportunity, because now they started to give you everything all at once. Remember, historically, you had to go to several different plants, if you will, in order to put out a software. So Microsoft used to use, say, plant A in one location, then send the product to plant B, and so on, in order to add all these features to the product to get it ready for the market. But out of that, they uncovered that there was a strong chance that things become bootleg as the chain of commands goes on, right? So what they did was, out of these, out of the combating the piracy, they basically allowed companies to be an all-in-one outfit. And we talked about how some companies really took advantage of that. Well, now on the digital front, it seems like we're seeing the same thing occur. There's a company called STEM, which I also giggle because you and I have education experience. So STEM,
science, technology.
I know. So STEM in the education world is short for science, technology, engineering, and math, right? And nowadays they add the A, which is arts. So it's called STEAM now, not STEM, in the education world. Well, there's this company named STEM who is trying to basically be the all-in-one outfit. They want you to be able to use them as a digital aggregator, the fancy word for saying use us to put out your product on iTunes and Amazon and Spotify and Apple Music, all that, right? But further than just being an aggregator, there's also acting like a sound exchange.
Okay.
You know, sound exchange collects that performance royalty. So what a company like STEM is trying to do is make it so that you can aggregate and manage the royalty system all in one, which I find very fascinating, because when I look at Sound Exchange's current platform, there's no aggregation from there. I don't know if that's going to be part of their plan, but they're not like digital music aggregators. They just are handling and managing and paying out digital performance royalties. But when companies like STEM come around and they can offer that and then some all in one outfit, is this like a move towards streamlining, or are we causing more havoc? Because, you know, when we put all the power, we talked about the consolidation of power and the disadvantages to that. So do you feel like when we start to house and put things all in one, is that a good or bad thing for us?
Well, it could be like a catch 42.
A 22.
20, whatever it is. 42, 22. But, you know, when you talk about things like that, until we as artists start seeing the majority of the money going into our pockets, it still makes no difference, because even with that, we're still talking about that, quarter of a penny nonsense.
Right.
And until we can get past that quarter of a penny, we can start charging more than 99 cents and $1 for our hard work and for our music. It's still not going to make any difference, because, again, those people that want to come in as a third party and manage everything, okay, well, where's the split? Are we going to do 50-50, 25-60?
Right.
The artist should always be making the bulk of the money.
Well, here's the very interesting point you bring up, probably unintentionally, but a company like STEM is arguing, I'm speculating, that they can now give you more power, artists, because now you can aggregate the material on your own, and you could deal with your digital performance royalties and manage it and track it all in one, say, database or dashboard, which is better, because not for nothing, for Sound Exchange, it's not like there's a dashboard where I see all my titles like an ASCAP or BMI or CSAC. It doesn't operate in the same way, so it doesn't seem as transparent. So on the one one side, I feel like this company STEM might be onto something. They have raised, there's cycles of venture capitalism that occurs. So in this last cycle, they raised $4.5 million. So this is a company that's investors are looking at like this might be the move.
Okay, yeah, you may be raising $4.5 million, but you're raising $4.5 million for your investors and for you. What again about the artists?
And don't you know that service will not be free? They will be taking 5%.
5%, of course.
Because everybody's trying to take something.
Everybody wants to get their piece of the pie.
But I feel like we're still back to the same problem, which is that we're not streamlined enough so that there's still a lot of gaps, and so there's not enough transparency to see where our income's coming, where are the sources for the income, and how we can track it. We're basically leaving it in the hands of others without any true tracking. I mean,
and say that again, true tracking.
True tracking.
Because when you think about it, and you think about the instance where, again, going back to Jay-Z, where he was lied about how many people he had on that site before he purchased it.
Pause. We're talking about the Tidal Music Service. Eddie's referring to Jay-Z currently is in litigation with the predecessors of Tidal because now that he owns it and he did a full audit, he realized that while they were touting 540,000 subscribers to start, it was a fraction thereof in reality. So they lied, according to Jay-Z's people. So they're in litigation now. Proceed.
And, and again, with that, who's to say that they can't inflate numbers?
Right.
Numbers and money saying this is how much you made, this is how much we made, blah, 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 blah,
right,
blah.
Because we realize in a title exchange, it's once you buy the company that you're able to do the kind of audit that will garner the real numbers. So, yes, we're all about true tracking. So whether you're a Sound Exchange or a STEM or whatever, I think that's very interesting. But let's go back to a more trivial question, which is they couldn't come up with a better name than STEM. I mean, forget the educational reference. STEM in the music world nowadays for DJs, now they're offering music. Did you know this? That TrackSource and other sites are offering your music as stems.
Because, when it says, can you send me the stems?
Yeah, the stems are a fancy way of saying the parts. So Eddie's lead vocals, then the background vocals, then the beat, then the music, then so on and so forth. The stems. So I feel like this company STEM might have a name problem more than anything else.
Well, unless STEM is copyrighted by whoever the STEM people are. STEM.
The acronym gods, I call it.
Yes, the acronym gods. So, unless they have that, hey, again, I always refer to, and I'm guilty of not really fully utilizing places like Bandcamp and before it used to be MySpace, and those were sites that you could actually sell your music directly from, and you still can, from my understanding, whereas you don't have a third party, and everything is basically supposedly on the up and up, where you get 50% of your earnings. Am I correct, or is it a percentage?
This is a perfect segue. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to help Eddie out so he can make some choices regarding his upcoming Do You Want to Dance LP and figure out what's the best strategy going forward. His LP will be released in September, so we have a little time. Let's talk about it over the next segment. Where?
At 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan.
Freedom Radio Hour, y'all.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people, and welcome back. I'm your host, Eddie Nicholas, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr.
Adam Cruz, and we're live and direct right here on the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your number one source for music business news and trends from around the globe. Last time we broke, we were trying to help out Mr. Nicholas, who has the Do You Want to Dance LP coming out in September, and he's trying to strategize for what might work best for him. So, in all of our conversations, you understand a few elements, right? Which is, it's better if you're going to go the independent route, assuming, let's have some givens, assuming you're not going towards, a major record label deal or going to license the product elsewhere. This will be just your release, independently released. Let's pretend that, right? In that case, there's some options. You are aware that Bandcamp exists.
Yes.
Right now, they take 80. You take 85%. They'll take 15%. After a certain amount of money is earned, I believe the last time I checked was $5,000. Once you surpass that amount, then they drop their percentage from 15% to 10. That means at that point you're making 90% of the dollar, right? So there's option there. I understand that TuneCore is a self-aggregator. It's the same. It's basically a fancy way. You pay $10 and you can put up something for 1 year. It'll stay up for 1 year on iTunes and Amazon and Spotify and a list of other aggregators. Now, TuneCore won't take additional monies from the earnings, but they do charge you that $10 for the year
to be a part, and that's not bad. $10 for a year.
There is a separate price if you want an album versus a single, because it literally in their world, single means one. So in house music, that's an automatic problem because even our single releases tend to have
10 mixes.
Right, it might be the vocal, the instrumental, the remix, all that stuff. So that in their world is considered an album.
An album, okay.
And you'll need to pay as such. But TuneCore exists in this way. And so let's say even in these two, look on Google, check out other sources to see what might work best for you. But let's assume you choose a Bandcamp. There's some beauty because you already have one, right? There's a beauty about this, whereas you get this 85 cents on the dollar. You can manage and control and know your statistics, meaning you'll see how much money has been earned, how many downloads, that kind of thing.
And also with Bandcamp, they let you know when somebody has purchased something from
you. Get an
site.
Email, exactly. It says cha-ching, and it lets you know when somebody's purchased your product. And there's a few other cool features that allows you to easily manage without having to have too many hands in the cookie jar, so to speak. What I mean by that is oftentimes when you put an album out, there's a lot of people that are involved in the project, so they feel entitled to money. So by the time it gets to you, that 85 cents on the dollar gets dwindled down. If you are making private deals with other people, maybe you have a deal with a producer or whatever you're choosing, because it is your project to make the decisions from, right? So let's move on from there. Let's pretend you choose Bandcamp. Now you're ready to put out the album. What are some things you should be looking for? Eddie figured like this. In a smart move, he uses his social media to post snippets and full versions of product that he's either about to release, or sometimes it's a throwback to something he has already released. And so Eddie's been really clever about posting those things. But in our conversations, I hope you don't mind mentioning this, that he struggles because he can't always track what kind of reach you're having. I mean, just because you post something on your account and you don't necessarily see the number of views you wanted or the number of comments or shares from it doesn't mean that it's not being heard. It's just sometimes when you're posting from a personal page, you don't have the analytical tools. The analytics isn't there from a personal profile all the time. Here's some things I want you to consider. Instead of posting on your personal profile, consider posting from your fan page first. Once you've posted it, then share that post onto your personal
in other words, like you
profile.
said, the windowing.
Yes, because the reason why you want to do that is because the fan page is public, and through liking it, people will get the information you're disseminating. And that's a wider net than just your personal profile, because in truth, the personal profile for Facebook purposes is really family and friends. So great, hit up your family and friends, but make sure you get your public to know, because unless they've requested you as a friend and you have accepted that friendship, they won't see it. Correct. So those are a couple of things to consider. In-house music.
And again, that's the same thing with Instagram and Twitter.
Exactly.
A lot of times you have to be connected with someone for them to be able to see what you are doing. They do have the general public, but most of that is, again, set up like a Facebook page for friends, family, and others that choose to come to your page and want to follow you.
I love that we're talking today. So let's break some myths down, okay? So by and large, Facebook, your personal profile is considered private because you need to request the friendship, and then you, Eddie, would accept that friendship, and then they're able to see the material. The fan page is public, so whether someone is your friend or not, if you post it on your fan page, they can see it. The same thing applies to Twitter. You don't need a permission thing for it. It can be public, that anything you post on Twitter, someone can see it, unless you make your Twitter account private. Then once it's private, then you are correct what you were stating earlier, which is people can't see it unless you've okayed that they can see it by virtue of when they click on follow, because Facebook is like, Twitter is follow. When you follow someone on Twitter, then you can elect to accept that or not if you have a private account. I personally have a public account, so it doesn't matter what you see because everything is about this show or music I'm releasing or my friends are releasing, right? So there's Twitter. Also, you do a really clever thing around Flipagram. Flipagram, for those that don't know, is yet another app where you could upload music and photographs to create sort of a photo slideshow while music is playing underneath.
And the great thing about that is that you can load up your own music.
And it's free.
Yeah.
So I love that. There's an issue, though, in house music, at least, that I want you to consider. You were saying, wow, when I post from my Flipagram and I have the stream in there, I'm not getting quite the traction that I thought from posting that song. So I would suggest, because we're in house music, there's often a long beat before the song actually starts. And you need to do a short edit. So when they press play, it's right to the part where you want them to hear. Because oftentimes, if it's too much of a beat playing before the music starts, people will just give it a few seconds and then will turn off. That's
go
just
to the next
it's
one.
just people
Unless
are too
it's
busy.
a beat that they've already got a rhythm pattern in their feet.
All right, let's take another break. When we're gonna break down a couple of more quick little finer points, but you will be on your way. Where?
91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan.
Freedom Radio Hour, y'all.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. You're deep in the zone right here at the Freedom Radio Hour with fantastic music and your number one source for music business news and trends from around the globe. Before we broke, we were helping Mr. Eddie Nicholas out in preparation for his September Do You Want to Dance LP release. So we're talking about a couple of options here. Eddie's decided to pursue Bandcamp as an independent means for publishing his music. So we were talking about some things you can consider there. For Flipagram, we were talking about an app where you can place music along with a series of photos like a slideshow. And you can hear his latest material if he wants you to hear that. But because we're in house music, there's usually a long beat intro before the song starts. So I was suggesting to Eddie that he should edit so that when you press play, that's the first thing you hear. I also want to talk, going back to Bandcamp, about a problem that we have, which is ripping the music. Those are DJs that don't want to support Eddie and pay for the music, so they'll play.
And not only me, a numerous amount of artists that are.
I'm saying Eddie because we're talking about him, but he's representative, I feel, of a large pool of people. He's a microcosm to the greater problem that's happening. But for Eddie, he's trying to figure out, how do I get sales going for my Bandcamp? So one thing you don't want to do, in my opinion, is to offer the full stream. This is against Bandcamp's philosophy. They feel like the more you hear the full song, the more people get into it, the more willing that they are to support it. Because we're in house music and we know the DJ culture, we know that all they have to do is listen to that stream one time, record it as it's happening, and boom, they have the record for free. So, to combat that, what Eddie has done on his current page is the project he has up there now, One Time. You can only hear the snippets of the songs. You can't hear the full stream. So there's pluses and minuses. The plus, it deals with this kind of ripping problem that I'm explaining. But the downside is that when you buy Eddie's material, you're going to get the full album or the full song plus the snippet in the same bundle. And that's a way to deal with the possible ripping or piracy that happens. But it's annoying sometimes for the end user who's paid to support you that they get the snippet and the full song when we just want the full thing. But anyway, I want you to be aware of some of these issues. Another thing with Flipagram is posting it on your public page and just sharing it onto private. Instagram, is just photos. So make that photo compelling. Everything should have a brand to it, meaning it should say...
with Instagram and those things, they do allow you to do a couple of seconds of any
something.
Type of
Yes,
music
that's
video.
true. So take advantage of that, but be very clever about what those few seconds mean, and always use the brand forthcoming from the Do You Want to Dance LP, Eddie Nicholas, something like that, so that there's always a point. There's always a call to action. Stay tuned, click here, or whatever it is. So those are just some of the information. I have a feeling we'll be bringing this up more as you get ready to release the product, because I think what we should do as a program is really catalog and document what you're experiencing, because this is helpful, I think, to a lot of artists, including me. That's all the time we have today. You've been tuned into the Freedom Radio Hour. Definitely check out eddienicholas.com for the one-time single. Of course, my Freedom LP is out and available everywhere. Go to djadamcruz.com for more of this fantastic music. Have a great weekend and a good week ahead. I'll see you next time. Thanks for checking us out, y'all.
Yes, we do. Thank you for joining us at 91.6 FM, and mad shout outs to all our moms. Happy Mother's Day. We love you.
Exactly. Freedom Radio Hour, y'all. Peace.
Peace.